As a kid struggling with dyslexia and a burning hatred for books, picking up the 2005 novel Code Orange, I was filled with the same sense of dread I got whenever I had to read something. And I never thought that this one book would change that. Boy, was I wrong about that. As that single book would change everything and instill a deep connection with books that persist today. Caroline B. Clooney is the author who penned the book that would go on to change how I view books. Growing up in the 50s with little much to do aside from playing cops and robbers in the woods behind her childhood home with her friends, Caroline would also immerse herself in the books amongst the rows of bookshelves in her local library. First, I will talk about her early work as an author writing adult suspense novels and what made her turn towards writing young adult thrillers that made her a successful author. Lastly, I'd like to talk about what her novels had done to turn me from a kid who hated reading with a passion to one who loved them and even inspired me to be an author as well. Caroline B. Clooney mentioned that she first started writing novels as a homemaker with 3 kids and a need to entertain herself. What made writing the thing that would fill her time was a 6th grade teacher that made writing fun for her. She talked about how her 6th grade teacher, Mr. Albert, would set 15-minute timers after handing out New Yorker magazines for the students to write short stories about the covers. Caroline took these writings to heart and began writing short stories for 17 magazine after publishing her first book. Caroline had 8 books marketed towards adults with little success, but those short stories she had written for 17 were a huge success with young adults, and she turned in an outline for her debut YA novel, Safe as the Grave, which was even more successful. The success that she received with her YA novel slingshot her writing career forward to release over 90 YA novels, with her most recent novel being released in 2022. Teens across the world have been enjoying her novels since the 1980s, and it's not hard to see why. Her books are a thrilling, suspenseful ride from cover to cover, and as somebody who had their life changed by those books, I'd like to discuss why. Writing novels can always seem as an easy profession to get into, especially after the author releases a few best-selling novels, but that is far from the truth. Caroline B. Clooney is a good example of that, as her first few novels never saw critical success like her YA series. I spent the last few days scouring the internet for the historical fiction novels that she published prior to Safe as the Grave, but I have failed to find a definitive answer to which novels those are. But that is besides the point, however, because even though those books were not as successful as she had wanted, she quickly pivoted to her YA novels, and that persistence and love for writing to continue after a few unsuccessful novels is an inspiration for an inspiring novelist like myself. As I stated earlier, Caroline has released well over 90 YA novels, but her total count of published works according to Goodreads is 124. A love for books and writing is all I can say attributes to that staggering number of published writings. I cannot attest to every novel she has written, but of those I have read, I have loved every word she has written. So it is not hard to imagine why she managed to publish so many. Simply publishing a staggering number of books does not make you a great author, but recognizing what you write best and focusing your efforts in that direction is what I think makes a great author. Code Orange was a book about a slacker who thinks he contracts smallpox after finding a scab in a book doing some research for a school project. Panicking, he soon finds himself kidnapped by some terrorists who hope to use him in a bioterrorist attack on America. Going back and reading it as an adult, I do admit it's a strange story for kids, but as a kid, I loved every word in that book. It opened an avenue of entertainment I have previously dismissed due to my dyslexia and preference for cartoon shows over books. After finishing the book in class, I remember running to the library and checking out as many of her books as possible, shocking my friends when they saw me with my head buried in a book that had no pictures. Flight 116 is Down was her next novel I had poured every ounce into reading. I forced myself to read even though my head was physically hurting because I knew her books were good, and once I was done with that one, I moved on to the next. And then the next after that, and then onto different authors. With over 40 years of writing and well over 90 YA novels under her belt, Caroline B. Clooney is an inspiration for an inspiring author who felt like his writings isn't good enough. She shows that maybe I'm just writing the wrong type of book for the wrong type of audience. A love for books and writing is the strongest foundation any author can have. And the life and works of Caroline B. Clooney shows it in every word she writes for her audience. A burning distaste for reading that lasted a childhood managed to change in a burning passion for reading. When a book called Code Orange was placed on my desk and showed me exactly how exciting a single book could be.